All right. Final segment. This has been really, really fun for me and everybody at Hustle Hard Enterprises, right? But we are on the last segment, and now it's all about understanding what metrics to track and what goes on with our clients, okay? So you need to understand what your KPIs for your business are. But for example, for ours, we need to understand what keeps our clients retained. Is it more value, right? Are they always churning at a certain level? If they are churning at a certain level, we need to understand the client and all of these aspects to realize if it is the same exact avatar, subset of an avatar that is not retaining, or is it something that we're doing on our end, right? So we need to track things like our open rates. We need to understand our retention on our personal brands. We need to understand our retention on our posts, on our blogs. We need to understand our retention on our emails. Every communication is going out. We need to understand what is retaining them. In terms of videos that we're posting, we also need to understand what's being retained in terms of attention, right? What is the open rate? So the amount of people that actually see, whatever it is that you are, getting an impression on, whether that is an ad, whether it's a video, whether it's an email. What's the open rate for it? What's the click rate? What's the conversion rate of the amount of people that are actually in our system that are actually converting on any of the offers? If we have an upsell offer, how many are taking the upsell offer? How many are taking the downsell? So we need to understand all of these key performance indicators inside of Hustle Hard Enterprises, right? And the way that we do that is through what's called a CRM, or Client Relationship Manager, right? So you can actually understand from a CRM standpoint on a client profile everything that is going on with the client, what they're clicking on, where they go, where they're going on the website, what gets them to buy, what doesn't get them to buy. And then we use automations also to manage communications with them and make sure that we're either sending them information or, following up with them, asking them for referrals constantly, because one of the best ways to scale your business as quick as possible is not only providing value, but actually getting referrals from the people you provide value to. They saw it was valuable. Maybe they have some friends that would also find whatever you're doing valuable, right? And we do that all through automations, okay? But the way that you have to set up your automations is all based on your client's profile. So whenever we're trying to understand our client's profile, we need to understand how much money they've spent with us, right? And group those people into their own subsets of ranges of how much a client spends with you, right? And then we need to understand what it took to actually get that client. Did we have to spend more money to get the more expensive clients? Or are we spending more money and it's actually hurting our profit margins because we're not seeing the LTV, even though we're spending more money to get that client? However, with that being said, let's say your client acquisition cost is extremely low. You didn't pay a referral fee. They came in off an ad. They came off of a free resource, and they've converted, and now they've spent $200 with you. You know that you can offer them an upsell or a downsell, but you can also offer a discount to this client in specific because their LTV to CAC ratio is way unbalanced. So if you know what these two numbers are inside of that client's profile and across your entire CRM's data, you can actually create a special offer for them in specific that's not going to apply to anybody else, right? Now, we also need to understand what gets them to buy. What are they clicking on? What do they not click on? What is actually speaking to that person in specific, right? And what gets them to buy and what doesn't get them to buy, right? If you start to actually keep your data clean, and again, through a CRM, you can understand all of these things with the click of a button. You can understand exactly what clients fall into what subsets of your overall avatar that you defined in module 2. But the best thing is, if you actually have all of this data on a client, now you can actually set up automations that hit subsets of our avatar, okay? So now we have automations that are running specialty communications to these clients and to these subsets, so we have the best chance for conversion, right? Because, as we spoke about earlier, we need to communicate clearly and we need to communicate directly to that person in specific, right? So, if you don't have a CRM, you don't have automations and anything like that, you can actually reach out to us, book a call, and we can take a look at your entire system and see how we can do what we just did with a blank business called Hustle Hard Enterprises, patent pending, patent pending, and see what we can do for your business, right? If this is what we were able to do with something that I just came up off of a whim, what could we actually do with your business in specific, right? So if you don't have CRMs, or if you do have a CRM, you're only taking advantage of 10% of it, and you know you should be taking advantage of 80 or 90%, or you're even spending money for your systems, your automations, your CRM, and they're not paying you back, take advantage of all of our resources. But if you feel the need, go ahead and book a call with a member of our team, and we would be glad to see how we could do all of this for your business in specific. Thank you all so much for taking advantage of the Business 101 module. And I'll see you all in automations or lead gen.